Dan, let's maybe take a moment to talk about something which is, quite frankly, a bit concerning within our industry, and it has recently been getting a lot of attention. Obviously, deep fakes has been a massive buzzword since that first viral video of Tom Cruise, I think back in 2021.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
they haven't
and
really
and the
got on.
one, so yeah, and sorry, mate, if I can interrupt you there, but like the Tom Cruise one, and then do you remember the Will Smith one?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
ever see the Will Smith one? Jesus, that was dog shit. Sorry, bro, completely interrupted you there. Oh.
They haven't really gone away, but have become more concerning now and have become an important accomplice in sophisticated phishing attacks, really. And I think based on recent events, should we maybe be concerned about AI voice cloning? Is that a thing?
Definitely, yes. And you're talking there about phishing attacks, using AI for phishing attacks. Um, this technology now is now being used by cyber criminals and being harnessed by cyber criminals, leveraged by them to do a whole range of social engineering attacks. So, phishing is your email-based attacks. You've got your voice-based attacks on phones. You've got your message-based attacks, either via SMS or by social media. And we've now seen across that full spectrum, they've really upped their game, using advanced sort of AI technology. So as artificial intelligence continues advancing now at a rapid pace, criminals are going to be increasingly using those capabilities to carry out more sophisticated scams and more sophisticated attacks, really focused on the human element. For sure, they're going to try and use that tech to break firewalls and get through software and hack into systems. But what we're seeing is a huge increase in social engineering attacks on humans because we're so bloody trustworthy and we see everything we see, we hear, we believe absolutely. And so we're seeing this increasing significantly. So technologies that are synthesizing realistic fake media, whether it's fake video, whether it's fake audio, these are known as deep fakes and are one of the newest tools now being deployed to help cybercriminal organizations carry out this fraud, carry out these scams to really good effect.
And Dan, obviously, you've mentioned the different methods of deepfakes, i.e., smishing, phishing, even as a tactic. But do you have any real life examples of companies falling victim to this new AI driven threat?
Yeah, so quite a really interesting story. Not for them, but for the rest of us to learn from. I think early this year, early 2024, end of 2023. No, yeah, maybe less than 6 months ago. I don't know the exact date. A financial clerk working at a Hong Kong branch of a large multinational corporation fell victim to a pretty elaborate scam utilizing deepfake technology to impersonate senior executives and swindle that company out of more than $25 million. Okay. The scam began with the employee getting a phishing message, supposedly from, or reportedly from the company's CFO, their chief financial officer, requesting an urgent confidential transaction. Now we've seen these a million times. Your business email compromise scams, your different CFO, CEO scams. This is a common thing. Everybody knows about it. Everybody's learned about it. So despite the initial skepticism of the clerk, their doubts were eased when they were invited to join a video conference with the CFO, where the cyber criminals actually used deep fakes to impersonate on the video both the CFO and a number of other senior managers that were familiar to the clerk. So investigators revealed afterwards that the deep fakes likely relied on publicly available company videos and audio, maybe on social media, maybe on their website, to digitally create the likeness and voices of all these executives. So once he had fallen into the scam, or once he trusted the people in this meeting, the employee or the clerk went on to make multiple transactions over a number of weeks. And the criminals actually accumulated over $25 million that was transferred to Hong Kong accounts before the company discovered and reported the fraud. So this complex scam that they pulled off successfully on a huge scale represents one of the first known cases of using customized deep fakes to mimic an entire group meeting to manipulate staff. So really advanced stuff, not the stuff out of sci-fi movies anymore. It actually happened, and a company fell foul to it. Another recent attack is, which took place a little bit more recently in April of this year, was an attempted phishing attack on the password management company LastPass. Essentially, one of their employees received a series of calls, text, and at least one voicemail featuring an audio deepfake from a threat actor impersonating their CEO via WhatsApp. So again, similar type of attack, social engineering, but trying to mimic the voice of a known trusted executive. Luckily, the employee spotted a few red flags. Something wasn't up. They reported it through the system that they had in place. They managed to alert management before falling for the scam. So big alert for them, and just another story of this starting to come to the surface, and something we really need to be aware of.
I think, as you always mention, and I mean, it's a fact that we always spit out there, but 95% of successful attacks come down to human error. And the human element is always the weakest link. And you've just explained that. But obviously, with all of this in mind, how do we ensure that we remain safe online? Do we still adhere to standard best practices?
100%. Yes, they still apply for sure. If anything, they're probably more important now than ever. Everything from access management, access control, your passwords, your password managers, your multi-factor authentication, all of that is still so important with how we secure our accounts. With deepfake technology, we can no longer trust what we see and hear remotely. We've seen two examples of that. Perfectly written phishing emails, audio messages with the correct tone from the voices of people that we know, and now even fully fake videos can be created easily and used to socially engineer companies and steal money or valuable data and intellectual property. So the technology is now out there. The threat actors are out there wanting to use it. We need to now start upping our game to be prepared for this. So how do we go about it? What do we change? What do we need to improve? We've spoken that the standard best practices still apply. We really need to keep on top of those. Security awareness needs to be, really focused on. Like you've said, this is a human issue, and these threat actors are really coming after and attacking the human element of your security program and your environment. So uneducated employees may still assume today that live audio or video cannot be faked, and they will act on requests that are given seemingly by colleagues or leaders without question, as we've seen in these recent cases. So security teams should see this as another threat to their organizations and update their practices and awareness training accordingly. Employees need to be made aware of this increasing threat, what to look out for. Just, as we have done in the past, social engineering, looking out for scams, looking out for any red flags, and following strict guidelines and policies and processes is extremely important. The control of least privilege is, again, something we really need to continue following. So it's a key control for cybersecurity, and adhering to principle of least privilege so that employees only have access to the accounts and systems that they absolutely need to perform their roles. So that then limits the number of vulnerabilities you have in an organization. If 99% of your employees don't have access to any sensitive material, they don't have access to accounts, they don't have access to do anything that could jeopardize the organization, then you've reduced that vulnerability a lot in the organization. So that concept of least privilege still is really, really important, because the chances of being socially engineered to do something that a threat actor wants you to do is now higher than ever. And then finally, trust nothing and confirm. We've used the phrase forever, trust but confirm. Well, this is changing now. It's going to be a lot more difficult for us to be so trustworthy. So, almost your default setting now needs to be, I don't trust that. I need confirmation. If somebody's asking for sensitive information, if somebody's asking to transfer money, if somebody's asking for anything that you don't want to do, go through the steps to confirm it properly. And it's really, really important. So even if you know the face on the screen, nowadays, even if you know that voice note that you've just received on WhatsApp and you recognize it, assume nothing and trust nothing. Unfortunately, it sounds absolutely crazy for us. It almost seem totally paranoid, but the technology is there now. We're working with technology out there that can not only mimic your voice perfectly with just 15 seconds of audio from you, it can then produce text to voice content. I can type exactly what I wanted to say, and it's going to come out sounding 100% like you. I can then translate that and have you talking French, Spanish, Portuguese in an instant. The technology is mind blowing. And while we get really excited about it in the content space, the cyber criminals out there are doing backflips over this. And we're going to see a lot of companies falling foul to that, unfortunately. So, a number of additional checks and confirmations are going to be needed, and companies need to work these out themselves. Consider using, previously established safe words as maybe a policy. Maybe you can do that in your families, with your families at home. You can do that in your organizations. Consider, requesting face-to-face interactions if you're working together in the same office or in the same building, or a range of other confirmation methods, making sure that the cyber criminals would have no way to get around that and to fake that as well. So a lot to think about. Not trying to, make anyone paranoid, not wanting to sound crazy. This is no tin hat theories. This stuff is really happening. The technology is really out there, and people just need to start being aware of it, start having these conversations within their organizations, within their families, and just be aware of this threat that is ever growing.
Just to confirm that this is a safe word within cybersecurity context and not the 50 Shades of Grey type of context with safe words.
But, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So we'll keep the safe words. We'll keep the safe words for business purposes only.
But yeah, Dan, some pretty scary stuff. And I believe if the aforementioned best practices are applied, then you should be pretty safe online. And obviously, we've got a cyber savvy behaviors podcast series where we deep dive into 52 specific cyber savvy behaviors that will keep you safe online, where we dive into each of these a bit more in depth. So definitely go check those out. But that's it for this episode, Dan. Thanks for your time. I'll catch you in the next one.
Cool, Les. Thanks very much. Cheers, everyone.